have to adapt to the situation, but it's annoying when this sort of thing happens. Even if mopping up the last few guys on an outpost is easy, you wanted that stealth bonus, and now it's gone. Even though this one isn't flat out annoying as some of the stuff on the list so far, it just sucks when it happens.
Colin?
What do you say?
Beat pick guy? Well renowned?
I suppose.
Tons of different monsters and mobs spawning all around, so it gets very interesting. And the components all have different names, which holds each upgrade them. Really, from my understanding, the only thing that there's to do is go to the exit, but there is a chest in front of the exit that you can get some stuff out of. Some of the stuff that shield. Ugh.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, this is full on war, baby. Creatures. Was that it? Oh my gosh.
And number 4 is running someone over when you want them to get into your car. Like, this is kind of specific, but follow along here. How many times has this happened to you? You're doing a mission and someone wants to come with you. It's mission specific, it's important. So you pull up your car and they just sort of stand there. So you try to get closer so they'll actually get in and you run them over instead. In any open world games,
Y'all, are all of these guys that are part of this weird recent charged wave of shitting on dads taking paternity leave, like, are they okay? And like, hey, I understand that paid parental leave is around.
No, because you're shedding. What? Hurry up and stop shedding. Dance floor. Whoa. Well, unremind yourself.
Rather alien concept for the majority of Americans because we are the only country in the OECD that does not have a mandate for paid parental leave. Right? It's one of those things why people in other countries say America is a third world country with a Gucci belt. Right? So this recent and toxic generalized slamming of paternity leave is connected to this news around Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. And if you're not familiar, Buttigieg first went on paternity leave back in mid-August following the birth of his twins. Notably, he's doing this at the same time as the ongoing supply chain bottlenecks across the country, which regarding that, I'm way more open to the conversation of splitting the two, right? The Pete Buttigieg story, I think, could be considered an exceptional circumstance. You are the head of a part of the government that is dealing with a massive issue that's going to affect hundreds of millions of American lives. Right? Very different from Joe and Jane Blow, who just had a baby and has a regular-ass job. And for the sake of providing an example of someone speaking out against paternity leave, I'm going to use Joe Rogan for two reasons. One, he is the biggest podcaster in the world with just an immense audience. And two, of the notable people with audiences speaking out against paternity leave right now, he's kind of the least dickish. Like, I've literally seen some of these guys just blanket statements saying paternity leave is for pussies. Right, so it's gonna be far easier to work with the Rogan stuff than that. So yeah, recently Bridget Fetisi was on Joe Rogan. They're talking about Pete Buttigieg, that conversation eventually leading to paternity leave in general.
People are blaming Pete Buttigieg because of the fact that he's on paternity leave.
That was a weird one because I never know in those stories. It's like, is this just like a partisan thing where you just want to like yell at the guy because...
But it is kind of crazy. He's on paternity leave.
With that, we see Fetisi pushing back against that, referencing a family member.
But it's like, here's the thing. One of you should do that. One of you should take care of the children. Like, this idea that both parents should get maternity and paternity leave at the same time is a little weird.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't. Only
Why?
because I have a German cousin and they get the shit. I mean, they get like a full year for the woman and 9 months for the husband.
That's great. You want to live in Germany? Because in America, you got to work. Like, here's the thing. If you have a small business, you're the one who loves small businesses, okay? Right?
Yeah.
Imagine.
No,
if
you
have
can't
an employee,
take maternity leave.
Imagine if you have an employee and this is your fucking CEO of your little company or whatever, and the wife has a baby and the husband's like, I'm taking 4 months off. You're like, what the are you talking about?
With Rogan then going back to Buttigieg and saying he doesn't know if his absence actually has any relation to the supply chain issues. But with that, still saying and asking, should fathers really get that paid time off since they didn't give birth? Once again, I do think that there are two issues at hand here. One, you have the specific Buttigieg situation where he's defended his leave, saying that the supply chain issues have no easy fix, but that every American should be afforded the right to parental leave. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki also echoing that sentiment, saying that he is at work, noting that she had been on a conference call with him. But I think more importantly regarding paternity leave in general, personally I'm completely completely for paid parental leave, including paternity leave. I think it's just a question of how much. Like in California, for example, dads are entitled to 12 weeks of paternity leave, 8 of those partially paid, the other 4 unpaid. And hey, like I'm not gonna outright attack people that are skeptical of the idea. I have to talk against the caveman part of my brain that's like, you man, you go out, you provide. But also there's different kind of providing, right? Being there for your small baby that I don't know if you've had a baby, that they are so much work. Give yourself time to bond with that baby, support your partner, make things easier. Well, obviously not universal. It's so odd to me that a lot of the people I've seen speaking out against this, they're the same kind of people that when they see like gay people getting married or they talk about the gay agenda or really they see anything that goes against like the traditional family unit is evil. Oftentimes are also anti-abortion. They're like, no paid parental leave. Once that baby's out, on your own. The best way to keep that family unit together, isolate them from one another. Like, y'all, how can we say that we're trying to be there for our kids when we villainize people trying to be there for their new kids? I live in a country where less than 1 in 4 men have access to paternity leave, where 100 million plus people do not have a single day of paid leave, where 1 in 4 American women go back to work within 10 days of giving birth. And I would love to be able to make a joke right here, tie a bow on this opening segment, get into that monkey intro, but it's not funny. It's just sad. Y'all, welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and hey, if you support paid paternity leave, hit that like button, and if you don't, do nothing, because I don't do well with criticism and or anything other than universal agreement and praise. I'm kidding, 10% of
Jess,
my
what
life
are
is
you
me telling
doing?
to go fuck myself. And on that happy note, let's talk about some entertainment celebrity news, though it does start off very depressingly. Starting with, we just got updates regarding the tragic death of Mac Miller. Miller died back in 2018 at the age of 26 as a result of an accidental overdose of fentanyl and cocaine. And the news now is that one of the 3 men charged in connection to his death just agreed to enter into a guilty plea deal. That man, Stephen Andrew Walter, will plead guilty to distribution of fentanyl, and in exchange, a second charge against Walter for conspiring to distribute controlled substances resulting in death will be dropped. That said, he still faces a maximum of 20 years in prison, though some reports say prosecutors are suggesting a 17-year sentence. And as far as the 2 other men, Cameron James Pettit and Ryan Michael Rivas, they've been charged over Miller's death, but have pleaded not guilty, and according to Pitchfork, a trial is set for March of 2022. And according to the agreement, Walter knowingly instructed Rivas to distribute fentanyl that was presented as oxycodone to Pettit, who was Miller's dealer, with it adding that Mac Miller would not have died from an overdose but from the fentanyl contained in the pills. We also had Maroon 5 frontman Adam Levine in the news on the receiving end of a lot of backlash. And this because it was a TikTok that went viral showing a fan jumping on stage, touching, grabbing him having that reaction. With many fans saying, hey,
Well, are we going to CVS or something? Or am I going to fucking Walmart? Because if we're going to CVS or somewhere close, then yes. If I'm going to Walmart, then no.
I can't speak to who Adam Levine is.
I'm not going to Walmart. No.
I would
I'm not going to Walmart for a fucking third day.
Someone just ran into our personal space and grabbed us. No matter if you are a fan or not, that does not give you consent. You have no right. And I also genuinely believe that the reaction to this would be far, far different.
Okay, then we'll go to job lots.
Or some guy jumps on stage, grabs Ariana Grande. How many of you are going to go, wow, she needs to humble herself? And as far as Adam's take on this, he ended up responding on an Instagram story.
Without our fans, we don't have a job. I say that all the time to our fans.
What the fuck
To
are you
think
doing?
that anyone would believe that I thought that they were
What the fuck?
our fans
What?
were beneath us or less than us makes my stomach turn. That's just not who I am. It's not who I've ever been. So I just need you guys to know I was really startled. And sometimes when you're startled, you have to like shake it off and move on because I'm doing my job up there.
But from that, I want to take a quick second to thank the sponsor
What
of
are you
today's
doing?
show,
Why are you doing
Juneshine.
a whole bunch
Juneshine
of
is a
mushrooms?
hard kombucha made with real organic ingredients with just 2 to 3 grams of sugar per can. Brewed with the finest tea, fruit, and spices in San Diego, Juneshine is the better for you alcohol that's refreshing,
Bone
gluten-free,
meal.
and easy on the digestive
Bone
system
meal.
thanks to the probiotics. Right? Not a fan of weird wine hangovers? Swap out red wine for the midnight painkiller. Trying to keep your
Because
carbs
I'm
low,
gonna
switch
make
out
a
that beer
mushroom
for
house.
Juneshine's topical citrus. And I got to admit, I was skeptical at first. I was like, kombucha? Like, I'm not that guy. But I really do appreciate not feeling so full and lethargic after drinking a few and still feeling great the next morning. And best of all, Juneshine conveniently delivers nationwide
need
straight
more
to your
sand
doorstep
for
so you
more
can
glass?
always have it in
Yes.
the fridge. And even for all you Juneshine lovers that are out there already, my code even works for you. Doesn't matter if you've purchased before. This is the first time ever, and the deal will not last forever. So head on over to JuneShineDeFranco.com and use
funny
code
because that's what I'm
DeFranco to
doing
get
right now.
20% off. Like I said, even if you're not usually a kombucha drinker,
No!
I think
Well, I
Juneshine's
need
worth a
glass.
try. Then in
now, not
business,
later.
money, crypto,
Use the
I'm
glass
not
you
gonna
have.
touch it because I got those paper hand shoes. Let's talk
Use
about
the glass you
Shiba
have
Inu.
for
And if you're only
now.
vaguely
Look,
familiar
sweet.
with crypto, you know
Sweet.
things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Celo, etc.
What?
But there is an absolute slew of
Stop!
altcoins, many of them just belong in a dumpster.
I'm not doing anything.
Every now and then, a
Stop!
rocket shoots out of that dumpster, and so far, Shiba
Stop!
Inu is
I'm not doing
I was
anything.
reporting that
Fuck off.
as of today, the Shiba Inu coin for the year is up 60 million%. It just sounds like a made-up number. The snapshot, as of recording, just in the past
What are you
day, it's up
doing?
over 77%. The last week,
are you
203%. The last month, 1100%. You know, much like we saw with Doge, it's made a lot of people crypto millionaires overnight. In fact, you had Morning Brew
Look at that.
tweeting out this wallet bought
called
roughly
dog.
$8,000 of
No.
SHIB last
What
August.
is
It's
that?
now worth
It's Jake's house.
$5.7 billion. From 8K to $5.7 billion in roughly 400 days. We may actually be looking at the greatest individual trade of all time. And while I, like I said, will personally not be touching this, it's really cool to see. I mean, it won't be cool to see if and when it implodes, but very cool now. And hey, whether it be because you want to get in on Shiba Inu, which
you
once
like it?
again, this is not advice. You do what you want to do, or you want to learn more about crypto. You want to look at and learn about the
Let's
stock market,
eat.
maybe get involved. I highly recommend you go to public.com/different. It's a great way to learn about and jump into these spaces, especially at a time where I know that a lot of people that are trying to get in on stuff today can't because other services have gone down. Plus, when you sign up, you open an account for free, you get a free stock. So yeah, let my partnership with them work for you. And then, yo, let's talk about the billionaire tax. So this morning, after a lot of waiting, a lot of buildup, Democratic Senator Ron Wyden unveiled this long-awaited proposal, with it being one of the most unique tax plans in the world because it's literally just aimed at the 700 richest people in the country. We're talking Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and that's because this would only apply to people making over $100 million in annual income or those holding at least $1 billion in assets for 3 years. And that last part, right, about the assets is the most notable and controversial. Right? It's very easy for the incredibly wealthy to avoid the income tax. I mean, Jeff Bezos, for example. How much do you think he made last year? $100 million, $10 million, $1 million? None of the above. His yearly salary from Amazon was $82,000. He's just like you, but not really. His wealth is connected to stock, specifically Amazon stock, which right now he has around $200 billion worth. And while these billionaires would be subject to a nearly 24% tax when they take money out of the stock market or other assets, there are a whole slew of loopholes that allow them to avoid that 24% capital gains tax and essentially live income tax free. And so with this proposal, for the first time ever, they would be held liable for gains of their other assets, right? Their stock growth. But before Senate Democrats can make this bill a law, there are massive hurdles to overcome. The first of which is this even legal? Right? Even some House Democrats who support increasing taxes on the country's richest have expressed skepticism, arguing that establishing a new tax code for such a small group of people would be a difficult policy to craft, let alone enforce. The law would also face major legal challenges, and courts would eventually have to decide whether unrealized gains could be counted as income. And I mean, if the taxes on unrealized gains ever affected the everyday person, I mean, everyone who voted and made this possible would probably be voted out of office. But let's say this bill does eventually become a law. Despite all the skepticism, despite people going, is it even legal? Well, many have noted and argued that even then, billionaires are very likely just gonna find another loophole to avoid paying taxes. For example, you have Senator Mitt Romney arguing on Fox News that it could push innovation overseas, also adding,
these multi-billionaires are gonna look and say, I don't want to invest in the stock market because as that goes up, I'm going to get taxed. So maybe I will instead invest in a ranch or in paintings or things that don't build jobs and create a stronger economy.
Elon Musk also pushing back against the bill, saying eventually they run out of other people's money and then they come for you. With others pushing back, saying no, they've been coming for our money, now they're just trying to also come for yours. So on the other side of this argument, and starting with specifically on the other side of this Elon Musk situation, you have people saying there are very few things that are more different than how much money Elon Musk makes and how much money you make, noting that Elon Musk made $36 billion on Monday alone. But also, if I was Elon Musk, I wouldn't be a fan of this. It's estimated that Musk would actually have to pay $50 billion of his $280 billion fortune within the first 5 years of the plan, with Bezos estimated to have to pay $44 billion over that same time period. And as far as what this money would do from all these billionaires, you have Senate Democrats hoping to potentially use that money for Biden's $1.5 trillion Build Back Better plan. But ultimately, with the makeup of Congress we have right now, I think, this is all kind of hypothetical. There's no way I see this going through. In a 50-50 split Senate, where Joe Manchin is a person that exists, there's no way this goes through. Even today, you had Manchin saying he's not a fan of the billionaires tax, instead saying he'd rather a minimum 15% patriotic tax, and adding there's a patriotic duty that you should be paying something to this great country. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Manchin uncharacteristically flips on something. Maybe they tweak this thing to a point where everyone can get on board. I don't personally see how that's going to happen, but I'm just one idiot, and so I'll pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts regarding this idea of a billionaire's tax? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? Are you kind of worried about the slippery slope aspect of it? Any and all thoughts you have on this, I'd love to hear from you in those comments down below. Then, we should definitely talk about COVID vaccine and treatment news, starting with the fact that the FDA's advisory panel has now issued a recommendation to allow the Pfizer vaccine to be given to kids between the ages of 5 and 11. But, Greg, put the keys down. That doesn't mean you can go out and get the shot right now. It still needs to be approved by the FDA itself, though it does seem very likely at this point. From there, a CDC advisory panel would make recommendations and offer guidelines on the vaccine's use in the age group possibly as early as next week. Also, speaking of the CDC, we're seeing the news that some immunocompromised people are now eligible for a 4th COVID shot, with the CDC saying that people who are over 18 who are, quote, moderately to severely immunocompromised can get this 4th shot 6 months after their 3rd, with it being considered a booster that will be only half a dose. And then finally, you have Merck saying that it now plans to share the formula for its COVID pill with 105 countries, with many hailing this decision, saying things like, this is the first transparent public health license for COVID medicine, and really importantly, it's for something that could be used outside of hospitals and which is potentially going to be very cheap. Ultimately, that is where this story and today's show ends. Now, of course, whether it be this last story, the first one, anything in between, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. But as always, my name's
Mondays.
Last night in Soho.
London is everything I ever dreamed of. I know how much you want this. It's not what you imagine. I keep seeing these visions of the past.
This is just a taste of things to come.
You shouldn't have come here.
Maybe it's too late for you.
Save yourself!
Last night in Soho. Rated R.
So the daily intel drops here continue on for Call of Duty Vanguard, with today Call of Duty officially detailing some information on when you can start downloading the game, how much spatially that's going to cost you for your hard drive, and even some things that are a first since, well, Black Ops 4 and before. So today we're going to break down everything you need to know, the implications this information has here in regards to the future, and of course the launch of Vanguard and everything in between. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you guys liking the information for the file sizes and when you can start downloading? Is there anything that you hope to see revealed here over the course of the next couple of days before Vanguard is actually launched? Whatever the case may be, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. Let's aim for 1,000 likes on this. And finally, if you guys are new to the channel and want to stay up to date with all things Vanguard here leading up to the launch and then following it, hit that subscribe button. We're on that road to 500,000 subscribers. And of course, we'll keep you up to date with everything and anything you need to know in regards to the upcoming launch. If you'd like to join the community, I'd love to have you. That said, let's jump into the new information at hand. So of this information today, we of course learned about the sizing and everything and some cool things that come along with that, but also the state of preloads for Call of Duty Vanguard. And we're still a bit more than a week away from Vanguard at this point, but what's nice that if you're looking to jump in right away, you absolutely can, pending no physical copy that you're then required to go pick it up from the store. But if you're a digital user, it was announced that starting tomorrow, players can preload, meaning that the game will be installed, just time gated until the local time of launch. So no waiting around when that timer expires, you can just jump in and play. For PlayStation 4 and 5 users, this starts at 9 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow night, October 28th, so 11 p.m. Central and midnight into the 29th for East Coast. Now, that's for North and South America only though, but for the rest of the world, preloads actually begin a little bit sooner for you, starting at midnight local time on the 29th, so a few hours ahead of North and South America, which are described in the Call of Duty blog post. Xbox One, Series X, and Series S all begin at one singular time, that being 9 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow night, the 28th, midnight Eastern, 5 a.m. in the UK and elsewhere in the world. So that being a little bit more restricted to one finite point of preloading. Hopefully it's not too much an issue though. I mean, we'll have a week or so to download at that point. So fingers crossed that's more than enough time to get your download in place and everything you need to be ready for launch. Again, all gameplay stuff like entry into the game, campaign, MPs, zombies, that's likely to be locked until midnight local time going into the 5th for wherever you are in the world, minus North America. They usually launch that at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the 4th, so essentially launching all 3 time zones at once, given that that's midnight Eastern. But regardless, preloads start as of tomorrow at varied times. But what you can expect to preload in terms of sizing, well, that's the part that actually might be some good news. Call of Duty in recent years has gotten a lot of criticism, rightly, because the game file sizes have been absolutely massive. Modern Warfare and Warzone made some strides throughout its life cycle to decrease that file size, better compress things, make things more optimized, but it still was something that was massive. So working our way backwards here by a couple of years, Black Ops Cold War, for comparison, had PlayStation 4 at 95 gigabytes, PlayStation 5 at 133 gigabytes, Xbox One at 93 gigabytes, and Xbox Series X and S at 136. For PC, if you wanted multiplayer only, it was 35 gigabytes, 82 gigabytes with the full game, and then if you wanted everything with ultra graphics, the high-res texture packs and everything that came along with that, brought it to a whopping 125 gigabytes. That was at launch. That wasn't including anything post-launch, any maps or anything added in after the fact. Modern Warfare, at the start, it was 60.86 gigabytes on PlayStation 4, but required around a hefty 60 gigabyte day one update.
You get sand?
Xbox One, after its day one update, was around 137 gigabytes.
No.
PC was listed initially at 175 gigabytes of storage, but that was recommended. It was a little bit lower as time went on, and then it was finally launched.
You still get sand.
These numbers, of course, have been since expanded since Warzone took
Yeah.
off. And then the integration of new weapons,
Still gonna
a
need
different map,
sand.
and
That's not
all.
gonna be
So
enough
even
sand.
that is right now way bigger than what we had at launch. Black Ops 4 is the most recent game where you had comparable sizing to what we'll see in Vanguard. PlayStation 4 was 51.42 gigabytes, Xbox One was 45.65 gigabytes, and PC was relatively 55
I need a
gigabytes.
fucking horse.
That, however, also included a hefty day one patch for around 15 to 20 gigabytes depending on the platform, so pushing it higher than what we actually see with Vanguard, because detailed today, Vanguard now requires base PlayStation 5 64.13 gigabytes of a download with 89.84 gigabytes required space. PlayStation 4's download is 54.65 gigabytes with 93.12 gigabytes of required space, and this primarily just being for the copying side of the installation, something that Xbox users don't have to deal with in the same manner, because as you'll see, Xbox platforms with download versus required space is 1-to-1. It's the same number. Xbox Series X and S is 61 gigabytes, and Xbox One is 56.6 gigabytes. PC, that was something that was listed as information is coming soon, stating that preloads start for PC on November 2nd, but there's going to be an additional and entire separate blog post for these details in relation to PC only, including minimum, recommended, competitive, and ultra 4K play requirements. As a PC player, pretty curious to see what that is, but also understand that the console versions here covering a lot more bases for a lot more players, so definitely more imperative to get that out sooner rather than later. But objectively speaking, those numbers for the base game, that's pretty impressive by comparison. To have the lowest sizing of any COD game since Black Ops 4, that's definitely nice. And it's even more nice when you consider the expansive reach that gaming is trying to kind of go out into in relation to just things like resolution, even at the very base. I mean, back with Black Ops 4, 4K wasn't really a stressed talking point. Now, 4K is kind of a standard. Gun realism didn't go too crazy until Infinity Ward changed over with Modern Warfare, and there were so many textures added in for each individual weapon like that, and so the world around it just became much more stressed in terms of resolution. We also saw that Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War both had high-res assets included with this, pushing a ton more data in those game files. So to now have that stuff included with Vanguard, but at a lower sizing, that's pretty solid. Now, what is important to understand and recognize out of this is kind of a breakdown of how this will work out. Why it's smaller is because that it utilizes new tech for the game that could be good or bad depending on who you ask. It was first mentioned yesterday when Call of Duty stated that the game would be utilizing new on-demand texture streaming tech to save physical drive space. Now, that's great for a lot of reasons that we just listed, but that base and hopefully extended space allocated will be much smaller in terms of the game sizing compared to what it could be, but this also could pose some concerns in the future that when I initially witnessed this, when I saw this announcement at first, it was a knee-jerk reaction. I didn't quite consider it. It was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I'm certainly no expert or specialist on data streaming, but from my limited understanding, with texture streaming like this, though, depending on how much it is, that could actually really stretch your bandwidth. And for those on lesser quality internet connections, it could pose some real issues here. With so much packet loss issues being present in the beta, I'm hoping that we get the ability to choose if we want this on-demand texture streaming, or if we can end up sacrificing that smaller size for the game files and make it larger, but have those assets downloaded